Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros, it's Drew here, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new edition AlpenFury coming to Canada's Wonderland in 2025. Man, it is a great thing that I don't go to bed till 2 a.m. some nights because goodness gracious, you get to see these announcements within the first 10 minutes of them being posted, and goodness gracious, Canada's Wonderland might have the best coaster of next year on its docket. This is going to be Canada's longest, tallest, and fastest launch coaster, and it goes up to a height of 50 meters and goes up to a speed of 115 kilometers per hour. If you're curious what that is in American, it's 71 miles an hour and 164 feet in the air. Another record-breaking aspect of this coaster is the fact that it will be going through 9 inversions, which is the most inversions for any launch coaster in all of North America. The ride is going to start with a double launch through Wonder Mountain, which is just insane. And like Volcano the Blast Coaster, it's going to shoot itself out of the top of Wonder Mountain with potential fire effects as well. And speaking of these 9 inversions, there are brand new inversions that we've never been able to see before, including the Fire Serpent Roll, which is going to be like a Sea Serpent Roll, but a little different. Another one of these inversions is called a Sky Flyer Loop, and realistically it's like the treble clef on Fury, but instead of giving you an airtime moment, it goes into a 0G roll while diving towards the ground. And then the third inversion that they're touting out of these 9 is actually 2 in 1 with the Ice Winder Roll. This ride is going to be built by Premier Rides. They're the same company that's built rides like Tigris, Tempesto, Full Throttle, and of course West Coast Racers. And there will be 2 trains on the track with 18 riders in each train at a time. And the full duration of the ride is going to be 80 seconds. This ride is going to be insane. Now, I will admit, I have never been to Canada's Wonderland as I live in California. It is just so hard to get out to Toronto and most of the other parks on the East Coast. However, this ride is making me reconsider my trip plans for next year, as at least in my mind, I feel like it gets itself over the hill in terms of whether the park is truly worth putting up high on my list, as they already have a Giga Coaster, a Hyper Coaster, one of the tallest dive coasters in the world, and that doesn't include the other coasters at the park, which I believe this coaster is going to be the 19th at the park, which is crazy to me, especially with having Six Flags Magic Mountain nearby. That park has 20 coasters, and Canada's Wonderland is right there. But legitimately, I was just sitting around talking with my buddy Mario from Mostly Coasters, and this dropped on my Reddit feed, and it was just insane to look at in real time. I'm kind of sad I didn't get my first reaction with this ride. And there are multiple elements on this ride that I legitimately think could be some of the best out there. I mean, there are multiple rolls on this coaster that look like they could potentially be similar to the Mosasaurus roll. That and the fact that there's a double inversion with an airtime hill in the middle, and of course a treble clef ending in an inversion. This ride is going to be an inversion lover's paradise. And that's all without mentioning the fact that this is yet another roller coaster that goes through Wonder Mountain. I mean, I think that brings it up to 5 different coasters that travel next to or in it. And if I'm wrong on that, I do apologize to all the Canada's Wonderland fans out there, as again, I've not been to the park, but my goodness, this ride looks good enough that I should. There's so many moments on this ride that look to give insane head choppers, and even while going upside down, which is just gonna be even more epic if you ask me to loop it back into West Coast Racers a little bit. And then adding a couple of cool airtime moments in there as well is just an extra plus. I will say I am concerned about the capacity of this ride, the fact that there's only going to be 2 trains and 18 riders a train. This is the brand new attraction, and I know that might be an issue with how many people Canada's Wonderland draws in every single year. I've heard plenty of horror stories with operations in that park, even with the higher capacity rides, that there are just super long lines on busy days, so I'm curious to see how they'll be able to counteract that next year. Another thing, I'm curious if there's going to be comfort collars. I don't see any on the off-ride POV, but there might be. I know a lot of coaster enthusiasts would be absolutely thrilled to see the fact that there might be no comfort collars on the ride. However, going back to West Coast Racers, we did see those trains without comfort collars at one point, and they still have them to this day. But Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando had their comfort collars taken off at one point, so I'm curious to see if Premier is just going forward without the comfort collars being a necessity on some other rides. As we've seen rides like Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain, They don't seem to be a necessity on rides that go upside down, just like Full Throttle. They've been able to operate that coaster with a seatbelt and a lap bar with a shin restraint as well for over a decade now. So I'm curious to see if there will be comfort collars or not. I'm going to go towards not, considering the animation doesn't have them, but you never know. I will say I'm genuinely shocked with how this ride's layout kind of interacts with Wonder Mountain and the surrounding area, and honestly itself. The way it cuts and dives within the structure is ridiculous. I'm excited to see that Alp theme throughout the ride itself. However, I will say AlpenFury kind of seems like a not so creative name, but I'm curious to see your thoughts on AlpenFury at Canada's Wonderland for next year. And if I should go to the park next year, let me know down in the comments. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you're just as excited as I am to see this ride in the future. But until next time, we'll see you on the next ride.